German now.
Okay, so we're just
yeah,
real, well, I don't have to go on camera. So, okay, so why don't we conclude the AGM and then we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna have a motion to adjourn. So if someone wants to move to adjourn the AGM.
I motion to adjourn.
Great.
Ian motions to adjourn.
All right, seconded.
Richard seconds the motion.
Great. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed, wants to keep going? No? Motion carries. So the meeting ends at 7:18. Thank you very much. Our AGM is now complete.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Great.
So much. I don't know why I did the stage.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to go for community stuff, and maybe I'll talk at the end. So I think I need to get.
Up to you. Yeah.
I'll do this one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to introduce Joanna, who I don't know very well, but we had met Aid Canada back a few months ago. We got Rebecca, who gave us a presentation of some of the peer mentoring they're doing, which we thought was really great. We were going to partner on an event, then it didn't get happened because April and May are nuts. But Joanna's going to talk to us a little bit about Aid Canada and some of what they're doing. So
Awesome.
step out and put her up on the big screen.
Great.
Hey, so I can't see anyone except for Ian. Is there a way to switch the camera so that I can see people?
Oh, yeah.
Hi again, Joanna.
Hey,
You
Ian.
guys are
Everybody,
besties.
Ian. Oh, there you are. Hey, guys. I mean, if you've got Ian, who else do you need, really? But
Aw, look at that. It's awesome.
thanks so much. What's that? Thanks so much for inviting me to come speak to you just for a few minutes. I promise I will be brief. I wanted to just introduce you to Aid Canada and all the fantastic resources that we have, and just give you a little tour. So my name is Joanna, as you know. I am the CEO of Aid Canada. It stands for the Autism and/or Intellectual Disability Knowledge Exchange Network. Just rolls right off the tongue, that name. So Aid Canada is much easier. By way of background, I used to be a lawyer, but I promise I'm really nice. I have a sibling who is autistic, and who also has an intellectual disability. So that's sort of my connection. When I was a lawyer, I was a disability rights lawyer. So again, there's a connection there. And I have been working with Aid for the last 2 years, and we are building, what we do basically is build all kinds of resources for the autism and or intellectual disability community. So that can be webinars, infographics, videos, toolkits, pretty much anything you want, we got. And I'm gonna just go and step through the main features of the Aid website, but I'm gonna actually ask you guys what you want to hear first. So there's a few options for you. Let me know what you'd like to hear. So I can go into a little bit about our background first and kind of who makes up Aid and our staff and our approach and our philosophy, if you're interested in hearing that. Or I can just jump straight to the juicy good bits of all the cool resources that we have. Your pick, what you'd like to hear. Both,
Juicy
neither.
bits.
Juicy bits.
Juicy bits. All right, here we go. I'm going to share my screen here. Can you guys see this?
On a t-shirt.
Maybe not.
Yes, you can see it. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome to the the Aid Canada website. I am very proud of the thing that we've built, and I'm going to show you my favorite pieces first because I get to do that. So one of my absolute favorite things on our website is our peer advice videos. So if you go to Connect and you go down to peer advice videos, you get taken to this lovely screen. And this is a series of about 400 short videos where self-advocates and parents, and sometimes parents who are also self-advocates, answer questions that were asked by the autism and or intellectual disability community. So on the left, you see the questions. So you can say, do I have to diagnose do I have to disclose my diagnosis to my friends? And then you can listen to a video of somebody answering that question from their perspective. And you can see what other videos, what other self-advocates also had to say on that topic below. Really cool. People love it. It's great to hear straight from self-advocates about how they feel about different topics. So if you have a question, you can start typing it in, and then you can see if we have questions, or you can also search by category. So if you're interested in personal relationships or education or independent living, you got all those questions, and you can check those out. So that's definitely one of my favorite pieces of the website and something that we get the most comments about from our community as just being a really helpful resource and making people feel seen and understood and heard and included. So there you go. That's my top pick for my favorite thing. Second favorite thing on the website is our library. So we have, so this is if you go to, if you go up here and you go borrow and you go to lending library, then you end up at the Aid Canada Library. It's really cool. So we have over 3,200 books that you can borrow, all focused on autism and or intellectual disability. That includes books that are like hard copies of books, but we also have ebooks and audiobooks and DVDs that you can borrow. And you say, oh, borrow, but how am I going to get to Vancouver where Joanna is? You don't have to get to Vancouver because we will mail all of the books for free anywhere in Canada with a return address or with a return postage. So you don't have to pay for anything. Really cool. I recently did an audit of our website as compared to other websites around the country. And I was going to say I don't want to brag, but I totally want to brag. So as compared to the next largest autism collection in Canada, which would be the public library, or the Toronto Public Library, we have 1.5 times the number of autism intellectual disability focused books as the Toronto Public Library. And anybody in Canada, not just people in Toronto, can access it for completely free. So that's really cool. I love on this one, you can search, and one of my favorite searches is books by autistic. Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so it takes me a really long time to type anything. Autistic authors. So you can search, and I think it's around 200 right now. 195 books we have just written by autistic authors, so that's pretty cool. We also have books in French, books that are written by parents. You can search by need. So you pick your topic, health, education, communication. You can pick it by journey stage. So in our consultation, when we were first getting going, this was what you would have heard if you picked the philosophy option. But when we were first getting going, we did a whole bunch of consultations with community members, stakeholders from across the country. And one of the things that people were really frustrated about was when they would go on a website, they were looking for something that was relevant to them, but they kept on getting the wrong age category or a journey stage that wasn't relevant to them. So they might be looking for resources for their adult sibling, and they could only find resources for children. Or they might have been looking for resources for their child, and they could only find things about, about seniors. And so this is one of the features that was specifically requested, being able to filter everything by journey stage. And you can also filter by audience. So if you're a grandparent, a parent, someone with intellectual disabilities, a sibling, you can all look. And then you can search by libraries. So we have the Aid Canada. If you're looking for in-person resources, Aid Canada Main Library is here in Vancouver. We also have the Suny Family Foundation is part of our library, so you can borrow books from Neve, where you are, which happens to be like really convenient. There you go. So that's the second favorite thing on the website that we've got. And then I'm going to go quickly into my third favorite thing. There's so much I love about this website. So if you let me keep on talking, I'm going to. Is the Learn section. So what we've got here is over 361 different articles. This is, again, like I said, videos, infographics, articles, courses, all kinds of really cool things that you can search by topic, by journey stage, and by type. So if you're looking particularly for a video or a course, you can search these things, and then you can check it out. What else? What else can I say about Aid? Do you guys have any questions before I keep on blathering? Anything you want, are you curious about that you want to know? What can I do?
Joanna, do you have any updates on the peer mentorship program?
Yeah, so the peer mentorship program is stalled at the moment. I can say we had shopped it around to a bunch of people, and we were looking for people to help us beta test it. And we so far have not had any applicants, despite being really determined to find some applicants. I think we have one applicant for the entire program. So we're this year, in the coming fiscal year, which just started in April, we're kind of pivoting. We're deciding whether we want to keep on focusing on just Alberta, which is what we had done previously, or if we're going to try and open it up to all of Canada to kind of get that wider range of applicants. But if you know of anyone who wants to be part of our beta testing, to go through the peer mentorship program, please let us know and encourage them to apply, because we just don't have any applicants, unfortunately.
I'm writing down a list of names right now.
Sorry?
I'm writing down a list of names right now.
Awesome.
I thought a few of them had
All apply. We've got
Joanna?
Yeah.
What sort of people are you looking for?
So I can go briefly into the peer mentor data. Did you hear the spiel that Bex gave last time?
No, that was just.
I don't.
So we're
It's okay if that's too far.
So the philosophy behind the peer mentorship program is that autistic individuals would be mentoring other autistic individuals, parents would be mentoring other parents, helping you through a particular transition or a particular problem. So someone comes and they say, I would like to get my resume in line, or I would like to make more friends, or I would like to.
And you're looking for both mentors and peers?
We are.
You're looking for both peers and mentors?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's a supported process, a supported journey to help that mentorship, that relationship get off the ground. There's the Coles Notes version. How'd I do?
Thank you. Perfect.
All right, so that's pretty much, those are my top three. I can go into more if you let me, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing and what you'd like to see. And yeah, there we go. I'll open it up to you guys.
I have a quick question, Joanna. If we have individuals who are interested in for this peer mentorship program, who would we send them to?
So I think Bex is the person who gave you a presentation last time. So she's also the one who's coordinating, well, she and SF are the ones who are coordinating the peer mentorship program. So you should have her email address. If you don't, I can give it to you right now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can send you the one-page.
I'll send you a follow-up email.
Yeah, and we can share that too. We can share that too, Joanne, with everybody after.
Sure. Can I put it in the chat? Would that work?
Yep.
Will you guys be able to see it? So it's in there. Her name is Rebecca, but she goes by Bex. So if you call her Rebecca, she always says, "Is my mom in the room?" Yeah. So I'm glad you guys are really interested in the peer mentorship program. It's a cool program. I'm really excited. I was really excited about it. I wish we had more applicants.
Well, I know Brittany and I were really excited when we heard about it, and I wrote down a list of names that I thought had applied to be mentors, so I'm going to touch base with them, some of them.
Yeah, and we had picked Calgary and Alberta generally as our kind of testing ground because there was such good, initial interest in it from our partners there. But it's a lesson for us, I think, when people say that they're interested in something. I mean, they're probably genuinely interested, but if there's any barriers to accessing it, like filling out a form, it severely impinges the number of people who follow through.
That's awesome. Any more questions for Joanna? Joanne? I want to get reading.
Joanna, Joe, hey you, that girl over there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joanna. And yeah. Awesome. Next, we're going to bring up Bill McGregor, and both of you guys are coming. Who's coming up? Both. Bill and Anna from Ready, Will, Enable. I've known Bill for about 43 years, officially just over about 6 or 7 now, but Bill's done a lot in the community, not just in autism. It's great to have him here and see what he's been doing with Ready, Will, Enable over the last number of years. And I had such a pleasure meeting Anna the other day, and I've heard so many great things about the work she's doing to help get people employed and also help turn around some employers that might need to learn here too. So, welcome Bill McGregor and Anna Ryan from Ready, Will, Enable.
Awesome.
You need to sit in the hot seat, do we?
Yeah, it's in the hot seat. That's
So we'll have 2 chairs.
Two hot seats.
Which one's hotter? That's the one, man.
Okay.
Okay, so there's only 4 or 5 people here, but there's what, 140 people here?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Excuse me. Thanks, Dee. Good to be here. It's been a while since I have come to your AGM and had a conversation and shared the good news of Ready, Willing, and Able, so I'm glad to be back again. Ready, Willing, and Able is a national program, federally funded by you and I as taxpayers, across Canada, 10 provinces, 3 territories, now in 30 communities across the country. Our mission is to increase employment opportunities for people on the spectrum and people or people with an intellectual disability. We do that through the use of a business case model, approaching employers to say, not please would you hire Mary or please would you hire John, it's you're hiring. We have access to a huge talent pool that you probably haven't ever tapped into before. Because we partner with supported employment programs, people where the job seekers with intellectual disabilities and autism would go for supports to find a job, get a job, keep a job, maintain a job. And so the business case model is really about when you're hiring, not ever asking them to create a position, but saying when you're hiring, would you consider hiring inclusively? And if you don't know what inclusive hiring is all about, let us help you understand that. And so educating the employers to the benefits of their business. Businesses are in business to make money. If it's a not-for-profit we're talking to, they're there for a mission. They have a cause to be there for. And that's what they're focused on, as they should be. So all we want is the opportunity to tap into their labor force when they're looking to hire. The other side of my job, is to work with supported employment agencies. So Dean and I started the conversation about how RWA and Aafs could partner 7 years ago when I started in RWA. Excuse me, and it's kind of taken us a while to sort of figure out as Aafs has kind of morphed into who it is and as RWA has moved forward, to the point now where this week we've got a signed MOU from Aafs, and proud to say that Aafs is our newest agency partner here in Calgary. And we're thrilled. We are absolutely thrilled to do that. Ann and I both, all we do is RWA work, but we don't work for RWA. We're hosted by Society for Treatment of Autism, which is the host agency for our positions with RWA. So our boss that we answer to for some things is the executive director at STA, and the rest of the time we're answering to the bosses at RWA. But our work is all RWA. So what happens at STA most days, I don't even know the people who work there, other than my boss and the accountant and the person I send my expense checks and get my paycheck from, and that's about it.
We usually get asked if we're there for an interview.
That's right.
Yeah.
We walk in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah. Are we here for you? Yes, we are. Yeah. So about 3 years ago, RWA offered us in Calgary to have the benefit of another funded position entitled an Autism Outreach Coordinator. And we were thrilled to be able to hire Anna into that position. And so she's functioned in that role for about 3 years. And I'll let Anna talk about her role.
Sure thing. Thanks, Bill. So as Bill mentioned, I'm the Autism Outreach Coordinator for Ready, Willing, and Able. And so essentially what that means is I'm the starting point for our job seekers. So individuals may be coming forward looking for employment or even just services in the community. And so through my work, while we do a lot of our collaboration with our partner agencies, my objective is to meet the needs of the community. So essentially, if individuals have barriers to employment, I will do like a barriers assessment and refer them potentially to our partner agencies. However, because a lot of my work is rooted in service navigation, there's not necessarily a limit as to where I may refer people to. So part of that encompasses, maintaining community relationships, staying on top of community resources, and just having a really strong knowledge of what's going on in the community and who those contacts are, because sometimes individuals need more services that are beyond the scope of employment. And so that's essentially what a lot of my work entails. I also support Bill typically by providing the education sessions for our employers. Is there any other additional information I missed?
That's pretty good so far. Yeah, you're doing great. So the agencies that we currently have here in Calgary, so I cover in my role, I cover Edmonton, Calgary, and up until recently covered Lethbridge as well. But we've been able to, we had originally 20 communities. They allowed us to expand into 10 additional. And so I was able to sort of portion off Lethbridge and tie it with Medicine Hat. And so that's where I've been the last few days, supporting our new person down there, talking to employers, talking with agencies. But we've been functioning down, I've been functioning down there for about 6 years and have been fairly successful down there. For us, the hardest thing, right now, there isn't a better time to be employed. There isn't a better time to be looking for work because so many employers are looking. I don't know what happened with COVID, but maybe people woke up one day and said, you know, that job I used to have, I never did like it. Time to go somewhere else. And honestly, I'm at the point where I get employers calling me saying, hey, we'd like to hire inclusively. And I can tell you 3 years ago, that was like one a year. Now it's like one a week or one every couple of weeks, and good quality employers. The other thing that we're finding now is that we've been around long enough and we've had such great success with some particular companies. So for example, Princess Auto in the distribution center, excuse me, started a relationship just on a cold call where I phoned them up and said, hey, you know, here's who I am and here's what we do. And we set up for a 15-minute conversation that ended up in 90 minutes because I was on my way back from Lethbridge. I had to pull over the side of the road so I could finish the conversation before I got back to Calgary. But that turned into a couple of great hires, and they're always looking to hire more. And oh, by the way, Bill, do you work with Home Depot Distribution Center? Because the guy who runs that used to work for me, and he's a good friend of mine. And so now Home Depot Distribution Center is part of my network of employers. So, you know, that interesting thing after COVID was difficult for everybody. COVID was difficult for agencies to try to figure out how do we change our program? How do we handle it? Aafs had to follow, you know, figure out what to do just like everybody else did. And many of our job seekers simply took their names off the list and said, you know, while COVID's going on, take me off the list. So agencies handle it in many different ways. Some agencies are partner agencies. Some of them laid off people, some of them let people go. And now that COVID is kind of on its way and we're sort of getting back to normal, they're trying to figure out what to do with their supported employment program that has basically been decimated. So we're building back to that. But we're having, right now, I would say for every 2.5 to 3 jobs I'm getting, I'm only able to fill 1. And that's because there's not enough job seekers so the jobs are what we call the demand, and the job seekers, that's the supply. And so again, bringing on Aafs, we're hoping to open doors. And Aafs is so let me just say this. The agency, partner agencies in Calgary are Society for Treatment of Autism through their Adolescent and Adult Services Program, Spectrum Advantage, which is part of Autism Calgary, Gateway Calgary, Gateway Edmonton is the parent of that group, but they've been with us 7 years up there, 2 years here they've been with us. Auticon is also part of our agency network. Aafs has come on as not just a partner agency though, but also as an employer. Because as you would all well understand, Aafs hires individuals and has done the training and the support, right, within their own realm of circumstances. And those of you that play with the budget and the figures and want to know, Dean, what are you doing with all this manpower? How do we cover it? So what we're going to be able to do is support those individuals by RWA funding the job coaching that happens for the people that you're hiring. So it's a unique, Auticon is in the same position where they're hiring their own people and they're working with their own people. So the job coaching that we typically would rely on agencies. So everybody who receives services has access to RWA jobs has to be aligned with one of the partner agencies. So being able to have an agency like Aafs that has the supply and has job opportunities says, okay, you should be an employer and you should be a partner agency because you're not going to be able to hire everybody that wants a job. but you're gonna have people that you're dealing with that are looking for employment. So let's figure out a way. And of course, that's where Ann and her role comes into play. Probably every week that goes by, I get somebody's phoning me or their parents are phoning me saying, you know, I need help or finding a job, or sometimes I get calls from employers, as I just did in Edmonton this week. I have somebody working for me and they just disclose that they're autistic. I need help. Can you provide that? And we've been able to do that, you know, so we're working hard to be as flexible as we can to meet the needs of as many people as we can. And the important thing that we bring to those supported employment agencies like Aafs, will have that unit, is not just the employment, but we have the funds to pay for the job coaching and other kinds of supports too. You know, if John gets hired at Home Depot and they need steel toe boots and they can't afford, they don't have any money to buy steel toe boots, we'll pay for it. So there's lots of opportunities there. It's about understanding what are the barriers to John or Mary accepting that job. Let's figure out a way to overcome that. And that takes a little bit of money. That's where RWA comes in. So as I like to say, sometimes I not only look like Santa Claus, but I act like Santa Claus. It's the way it goes. But those people that phone and say, I need help, or my son needs, or daughter needs help, I pass them all on to Ann, and she takes care of all those people so nicely.
Absolutely.
What I miss? Anything?
I think you covered it perfectly.
Perfect.
I guess that also might be worth mentioning just briefly. We also support individuals who are seeking post-secondary support
Oh,
in entrepreneurship.
very important.
Yes, I'll let
Thank
you
you.
speak to that a little bit more.
Sure. So post-secondary students. So, you know, listen, when you and I graduated, at least when I, you know, dinosaurs roamed the earth, I had three choices when I was getting out of grade 12. My parents made sure I understood. Get a job, go get more education, and if you don't like the job you think that's available, go start your own company, right? Those are the opportunities we're giving folks on the spectrum and folks with intellectual disabilities through RWA. So we have done, probably in Calgary, we've had probably, I would say, 20, 25 students that we've supported, post-secondary students. It's not an auditing situation. They have to be enrolled. They have to be working towards a diploma, degree, something. You know, it's not just U of C and in Mount Royal or SAIT. It's some of the other programs that are there. So there's lots of opportunities there. And our supports for post-secondary are pretty good because we've covered costs of things like adaptive technology and all sorts of tutoring and some of those kinds of things. Again, what do we need to do for John or Mary to be successful in that course of studies, whatever it is. The entrepreneurship stuff is near to my heart because I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And entrepreneurship takes certain kind of people with certain kinds of skills, and the skills are built around what it is they want to do. In this world, it's all about goods and services, right? So as an entrepreneur, you're either going to sell goods that you made, built, acquired, whatever, or you're going to provide a service of some sort. We have a young man that lives just outside of Calgary who came through and has had a vast experience in working in a number of different banks. He wanted to get into personal financial planning. So we partner with an organization called Rise Helps, or we call it Rise, and they do all the business assessment. They do all the feasibility studies of, is this a good idea? Is this feasible? They help build the business plan. They also have access to a pool of money, compliments of the federal government, that they can loan to people as startup costs. The relationship with Rise and RWA is such as happened with this young man, was able to, they loaned this young man $5,000 of startup costs to get his business going. Had to buy some computers, some desks, that kind of stuff. That was a loan. RWA matched that loan and gave him $5,000. Not as a loan, but as part of the startup cost. So whether he took the $5,000 and paid off the loan, he's still ahead. If he kept the loan and now has $5,000, now he's got $10,000 of seed money to get that business and get it going. So entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but you know, and to need your service. Deb Barrett, who unfortunately passed away last year. I was working with Deb for 6 years. And in that time, we were able to help her grow her business, quadruple her business. And she went from hiring about about 10 or 12 people in Edmonton, along with their son Anthony, to do the delivery service, expanded to all kinds of other services, expanded to Calgary, to Lethbridge, to Medicine Hat, into Saskatchewan, into British Columbia, and it was fabulous. And there's a situation where, of course, Anthony did not have the capacity to run that business or own that business or make those decisions. So it was a family business, all for the purpose of employing. And what happened was she was so successful, they got a lot of free media coverage, which all of a sudden the phone started ringing off the wall and get, hey, do you have a job for my John or my friend or my Susan or whomever? And that's how she, came to me and said, like, I need help. As Deb used to say to me and keep reminding me, Bill, I'm a flippin' psychologist. What the heck do I know about business? So we were able to work with that. How's
That's
that?
pretty good.
There we go.
I think you got it all.
Any questions?
Yes.
I'm just
That's
curious.
enough.
What is there a criteria that somebody has to meet in order to be eligible for any of like the services that you offer? Like, are there boxes they need to check, like proof of diagnosis, or do you target a
No.
certain age?
They just need to self-identify as either having an intellectual disability or being on the spectrum.
Okay.
Some of our delivery partners do require an ASD diagnosis or an ID diagnosis. I believe right now, actually, none of them do. No, none of them do. Because I think that's
Some
just
of
the
the
way.
agencies used to.
Yeah, some of the agencies used to, but I think as time's kind of gone on, we're
Yeah.
all evolving. And
The wait list for adults is like 6 years right now or something.
Well, and it's a huge cost, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
huge
that
cost.
alone becomes a barrier to employment if the requirement for supports,
Yeah.
help finding the job, help getting ready for the job,
Yeah.
help keeping the job. If that's what's required, it's like, what's the point of
Yeah.
working?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Typically, individuals do have to be 18 years of age or older. However, under special circumstances, there have been exceptions. Same thing, some of our delivery partners, they just require individuals to be 15 years of age or older just to be enrolled in their programming.
Okay. And then what about funding, like PDD, AISH? Like, does it matter?
Yeah, no, so the age piece doesn't matter.
Okay.
However, we do have some individuals who do have PDD funding. Typically, none of our partner agencies or delivery partners utilize PDD funding, with the exception of Inclusion Alberta that, who
No.
utilize-
I have Lethbridge partners that do.
Oh, within Calgary.
Yeah, not in Calgary.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Calgary, there's none that utilize
So-
PDD funding.
But we take the stand of being what's called a payer of last resort.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
you're an agency and you're providing supports, employment supports through PDD funding, contract, whatever,
Mhm.
and as we know with PDD, it's getting tighter and tighter, harder to be eligible, and then they're restricting what they're giving and what they're allowing, right? So if PDD says, it used to be open-ended, they need job coaching supports, send us the bill, and we'll pay for it. Now they're saying, okay, John only gets 5 hours a week. Well, if John needs 10 hours a week, we'll pay the other 5.
Okay.
Right? So it's the beauty of RWA is there's so much flexibility in it.
Mhm.
I feel great about the job that we're able to do because we can really figure out what's the right way to move forward with it. How do we make this work, right?
Yeah.
Anna and I have become very good at problem solving
Mhm.
and trying to, taking that approach of how might we make this work, right? And
All the time.
there's an answer. If we scratch our heads long
All the
enough,
time.
we'll come up with the right way to make it work. And
Yeah.
sometimes we color a little outside the line, but
Well, and I can testify, like Bill talked about the coverage years ago, and part of the thing was some things were a little more stringent around, had to be an RWA job, had to be a certain job coach. We were already hiring inclusively, so there's some work. And then, it was 3 months ago, he did mention I stood him up for breakfast once, but I did. He's gonna bring it
How
up.
dare you?
But he emailed and said, hey, now we're ready to go. We can make this work. And we're at Aafs is at a place where we have the reserve capacity to make it work. So I can testify that he does his best to find a way to get outside those lines and make it work.
Awesome. So your federal funding isn't tied. They don't set tight conditions or parameters on who you can support, which is fantastic.
The funder says, as long as it's an intellectual disability, a person
Yeah.
with an intellectual disability or autism. Now, there used to be, before COVID hit, there were some other, and go figure. Okay, so this is about helping people find employment and keep employment. Excuse me, one of the criteria they had originally when we started was However, if they've received employment insurance in the last 5 years, they're not eligible. So that was the rule. And so what we discovered very quickly that you could appeal that.
Yeah.
And so I become an expert in sending out templates.
Yeah.
Mary didn't get approved, so fill this out, put the right names in here and send it back to me. And Mary's mysteriously approved, right?
Okay.
But COVID came on and they realized for whatever reason, hey, this is crazy. And they said, everybody's eligible.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Eligibility for hours, which per week as well.
Yep.
That was also a huge barrier before. So previously it was a minimum of 15
15 hours a week
per
work
week. Yes.
employment.
Yes, and so
Okay.
that was, that can be a massive barrier for some of the individuals that we serve, especially if that's your first time working in a job. That can be pretty overwhelming, and so that's one of the barriers that we've managed to overcome, where there's no set hours per week that an individual has to
And
work.
honestly, we have so many employers that now start with part-time work. That's
Yeah.
the gateway.
Yeah.
If you can't come and work part-time hours, you don't even apply for a full-time job. They won't, you have to start. And so being able to work around that minimum of 15 hours and sort of get rid of it has been great. It's been very, very beneficial.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you for answering that.
So how does your organization get involved in keeping a member employed? A lot of focus is to get them a job.
Yep.
Once they got the job, how do you get involved in keeping, do you get involved with the employer of that member, or is it just strictly with the member?
Good question.
That's a great question. So here's how it works. Home Depot distribution center says, Bill, we're hiring, here's the job description. I take it to our partner agency. So Aafs would get that notification. Here's the job description, here's the hiring process I've set up. Everybody who's going to become a partner agency has to commit to having job coaches on staff. When I have that initial conversation with the employer, I'm telling the employer, your new best friend will be that agency person, that job coach or facilitator, whatever title they have. Because their job is not just to support that individual, but to support you as the employer as well. You're going to need supports. You don't know what kind of supports you're going to need until you're into it, but they're there for you. So most programs in this province are funded, the support employment programs or pre-employment programs are funded to get them to the point of helping them find work, and then it's have a nice life. Where we become so valuable is we pay for that job coaching. So, and there's no limitation on how long that should be. So I'm always cautioning agencies, don't be so quick to say you don't need any supports or John doesn't need any supports anymore, because oftentimes the right way to look at it is not will this break down, but when will this break down? And so we need to make sure that you as an agency have that relationship with the employer and that you have that relationship with that individual. And once a person is approved for RWA supports, they can come back. The agency can come back at any point in time and get those supports. So it's the job coaching dollars that we pay. So initially, I'm the one who starts the relationship with the employer. But as the process moves into that point of hiring and they've determined who they're going to hire, then the focus and the relationship primarily goes between the employer and that person from the agency. Pure Later here in town is undoubtedly one of our best employers. We've had about 26, 28 hires.
What kind of jobs that they have at Pure Later that you're talking about?
You name it. We have one young man who started off with 3-hour afternoon shift, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and now he's a courier driver. We have people that work midnight shifts. We have that prefer midnight shifts for all kinds of good reasons. All kinds of positions. We have people that want to start at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. Whatever positions that they have available, these folks here at Pure Later and Calgary are so good to work with. I'll see a posting. I'll say, hey, are you open to entertaining candidate? Absolutely, Bill. And away we go. And they've been great.
A big thing a big thing we've been emphasizing and that we found has been successful with Pure Leader is that opportunity for growth. So as Bill mentioned, we had that individual who started off working in the warehouse, moved up and wanted to be a courier driver. We've also had individuals who've they were open to allowing individuals to apply more within that head office space, doing that administrative work. If that's something, say if they have a post-secondary degree and they want to utilize that, that's something that they've been open to as well. We've also had individuals who've done customer service, so maybe they're actually working at a pure later location, not at the warehouse offsite, and they're doing the customer service and supporting people with getting their packages. So truthfully, we've had it all across the board in regards to the type of positions that people can work in.
The interesting thing about inclusive employment, I was sharing this with the folks at Aafs the other day, that the feds actually came to us 3-4 months ago and said, the thing we're noticing about inclusive employment is people get a job. It's an entry-level job, but they never get beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave us money to run a pilot project, which we did across Canada. So we ran 5 here in Calgary and 8 and 6 in Edmonton. Opportunities where we did a fee-for-service contract with some of our partner agencies to identify RWA employees, people who were found the job and were being supported, to talk to them about, okay, John, you've been working at Home Depot doing Costco as the buggy boy for a year, a month, a week, I don't care how long. Is this what you want to do? Like, is this really what you want to do? Or are there other things? Well, I'd really like to work in the butcher shop back there. Okay, let's go have the conversation. And so this pilot was to develop a professional career path for that individual, to the point where if there was a course, so if the meat manager said, yeah, but we need you to take this health and safety course that SAIT offers, and it's going to be 6 weeks long and it's going to cost $600, RWA would pay for that. In this pilot project, they gave us enough money to fund that. The whole purpose being to explore and to expand on this thinking that inclusive employment isn't just about getting somebody employed. It's about helping them develop some kind of a long-term career path if that's what they're interested. There are folks who want to bus a table at Timmy's, and that's what they want to do, and maybe that's their capacity. But the 3 hours that they're doing that is every bit as important to that individual as the 40 hours that person over there is working. And when individuals are given an opportunity to go beyond where that entry-level position is, we got to make sure. And I'll tell you one story and wrap it up for you. This has got to be my favorite story. We got a guy, you know what escape rooms are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody knows an escape room. So we got a young man in Edmonton who got hired 3 hours a week. That's all he wanted to work because he had never worked before. Did an escape room. Over a period of about, a year, he increased his hours. They offered him more hours. He took on more hours. He became a supervisor. Then he became the manager, and then he bought the company. So there's a man who started with 3 hours of work, right? And wanted more than just that, but he needed to start somewhere. That 3 hours of work was so important to that man. And listen, we all know from what we do that work's important not just because of what you do, but it helps you buy you the vehicle you drive and the holiday you might want to take, or and why would it be any less important to the people who are here to serve, right? And so providing the opportunities for growth, opportunities beyond just simple entry level, to me that's the next whole push within inclusive employment. That's where we got to do.
And that point's interesting, great, because I know when we talked to Bill, that's one of the points that we talked about, because we have some staff that have been with us for a number of years that a few of us know they're capable of doing, and both, there's some anxiety there, anxiety behind it was that path was, so that's the part that I think that really was like, yeah, we can hire people, but really where are the people on our leadership team, where are the people going on to coordinator positions elsewhere, and that piece. I think that's awesome.
So the federal budget that came down 3 weeks ago gave us new life, gave us 3 more years of existence. So we're now funded until the end of March of 2025. They increased our funding to be able to maintain all 30 communities, and also want us to look at some other kinds of ideas. They want us to move more into the Indigenous communities, or at least I should say more into it, but start working with Indigenous communities. They also want to have conversations about youth and that transitional piece, which we know is so important. And that career path that I was telling you about, the professional, they're looking at allowing us to maintain that on some kind of a scale. So we don't know the details of that yet, because all we know is we got a chunk of change. We got $20 million for the next 3 years, and Anna's job and my job is to spend as much of that as we can. Because honestly, if we have money left over, it's because we didn't do our job.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So when she's hounding you to say, do you know people who are looking for some supports to get employment? That's why we need to spend that money.
You don't pay for
We don't pay
degrees
for
or
anything.
diplomas, no.
Sorry, we don't pay for.
Degrees or diplomas, like
No.
if some, yeah, so,
No, the
but the
post-secondary-
education piece would be what?
The education piece would be the academic supports, and the autism supports, right?
Okay.
So they kind of go hand in hand, but they don't necessarily, and that's where we might pay for tutors.
Yeah,
We
okay,
might, the adaptive technology.
Yeah.
So typically it's anything outside like the academic services that they can't support. We find that a lot of people come to us saying like, hey, I can't get a practicum, can you help us? And so in that circumstance, we'll usually try and circle back and say, we don't, because that is the post-secondary's responsibility. So if there's opportunity for that individual to go back to the university and collaborate, that's generally where that will come in.
Yeah. Sarah's team at Spectrum Advantage has done most of the work in this city for us in terms of post-secondary supports. And that's about developing relationships. And some of those start, and it's always great conversation when Sarah phones me up and says, what do you think about this? You think we could support this? And one time it was a young man over at St. and he was in his 3rd year or 4-year program. And he went and asked for a simple accommodation of being given an extra half hour to complete his exam. And he was denied. Didn't need it. Well, you don't look like you got a disability. Gee, how nice. So somebody told him, I think him or his mother phoned Autism Calgary. He said, talk to Sarah. Sarah said yes. As long as Bill says yes. Bill said yes. And she went in. Now the sad part of it is, the good part is he got the accommodation. The sad part of it is, the only reason he got the accommodation is when the person they talked to, looked at his marks and realized he was an A+ student. They gave it to him. So again, there's just so much work that has to be done. We know that, right? That's why we're all here tonight. So there you go. Okay, we've probably taken up the next 3 hours. That's why I only get invited back every 7 years. Next time they're just gonna invite you.
Yes,
yeah, and she does all the work.
Got her trained well, don't I?
yes.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, so AID is like a brand new partner. Ready, Will, and Able has been sort of a long time kind of community to build that partnership. Syny now has become a really long-term partner, and a little bit about sort of trying to, again, figure out, we both had completely opposite starts as organizations. I remember Tom and I, the former president, talked at the golf tournament. My presentation started with the $13 book we bought to start, and Tom started with the $100 million endowment with Steve. And that was a connection point for Tom and I, who kind of knew each other pretty in passing, to really connect and see, wow, this is really cool kind of. Over the last number of years, it's really increased social requests. And Amy's been she says new, but now I feel like she's been here for years, doing a lot of great things overseas. So she's going to share some stuff.
Cool, yeah, I'm gonna invite Jay up with
And
me
Jay's
too.
going to come too.
Yeah,
Jay's great.
Oh, you want the chair back?
No, that's okay, we'll grab it, yeah, thank you so much. So, I got it.
Yeah, where were you?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Great. Well, it's been such a pleasure to meet everybody who is here physically today, and then hello to everybody else online. I see a few familiar names, but I will just, in the spirit of what we're doing here, I'll just introduce myself again. So I'm Amy Tatterton. I started with the Suny Family Foundation in September of 2021, so we've been in month 8 now, if I'm doing the math correctly. My title is the Director of Learning and Connection. And we are really, really, really happy to host some people in person and to, test out some of the hybrid functions of the room. I cannot wait for more and more and more of this. Quick synopsis of the Suny Family Foundation. We're an operating foundation based here. We call the Ability Hub our physical space here where we're sitting, and then our offices extend way down that side. We aim to improve education, employment, and housing outcomes for autistic youth and adults. Our vision is that autistic adults live, learn, work, and thrive in their communities and realize their desired futures. We do this in a wide variety of ways, and I think that's why I still say that I'm new to Suny, because I'll be in a meeting and I'll hear about some kind of work that we're incorporated in, and it is news to me. So yeah, our hands are in lots of different pots. Our organization branches out into lots of different spaces. Our doors are not officially open to the public yet since the closure of COVID, and many of you realized tonight they weren't open at all because they were locked and I didn't know that was happening. But we are actually running some of our programs in person, and we are welcoming people on site kind of with like an appointment booked in advance. The best way to stay up to date in terms of what's happening here at Suny is to either sign up for our newsletter or just continually check our website because it's always different. The one thing I wanted to highlight, we have lots of exciting projects and areas of growth here, many of which Aafs and Dean and his team are involved in as well. But coming up quickly here on May 5th and 6th, we are a part of what's called the Innovations in Autism Symposium. It is invite only, so you're like, why the heck are you telling me about it if I can't be there? But we are virtually broadcasting what's called the speaker series. So the keynotes that we've invited, which are some pretty big names, are going to be made available publicly for people to listen to. So the information is on the Aafs Facebook page. The Connection team and Anton is going to be running the hybrid technology for that event. So we're really excited about that. And yeah, that was just one thing I definitely wanted to highlight because it's funny, like since I started at Suny, Aafs just keeps popping up and I love it. It's a familiar face, and you guys also have your hands in many pots and involvement with lots of different things. So I'm going to pass it over to Jay to just kind of give a little synopsis about what those programs and services I'm talking about. Oh yeah, you go for it.
Yeah, so as Amy mentioned, my name is Jay. I'm in week 4 of my role at Suny. So I am the Learning Connection Coordinator. And so Amy has asked me to share tonight a little bit about just the programs and services that we have. And so the first one is the Information and Navigation Service. And so this one's just really coming and meeting with anyone on our team, the ambassadors.
You?
Or yeah, and me eventually.
Yeah.
And being referred to either internal or external programs. And it's great to meet you all tonight. So I have a familiar face when I say, hey, you should go see Aafs. I actually know who you are. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's great because, I mean, I sat through and shadowed one Tuesday, and Aafs was one of our recommendations. So that was super cool to see. And then another thing is we have housing-specific consultations, which are separate than the information and navigation services. And those are specifically for people who are looking to move out within 3 months to a year. And so that's amazing. Something else is Employment Works. Wow, Employment Works, which is a national program that offers employment preparedness training and does job sampling. And then we just launched the Employment Works self-directed online, which has been super cool to discover more about. And there will also be a French version, which is super great, being as it's a national program. So yeah, there's 3 ways to join. So there's the in-person, there's an instructor-led online, as well as the self-paced, which is the one that was just launched. And then something else that Suny does is different skills groups, which happen on a 6-week rotation. And so their topics are mastering the art of communication, acceptance and commitment training, and executive function. And then we continue to run the Launch Plus Skills, which is one-to-one skill coaching in one of our big 3 areas, which are employment, housing, and post-secondary. And so yeah, as Amy mentioned, this is the Ability Hub. We're working hard to actually get physical humans back in it. So it's super great to see you all tonight. It was great to meet you each at the doors. I let you into the locked building. And yeah, check out our website, sign up for the newsletter, and I hope to see you all again.
We're open to any questions that anyone might have, and we will absolutely do our best, given I'm 8 months into the job and Jay is 4 weeks. But happy to answer any questions, and if we don't have the answer, we'll find the answer.
I read those green logs.
Yeah.
As we talk about speed and everything that we use.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And with Connection's gonna make use of this room. This is gonna be-
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing, we don't really advertise it that much, but our space, this is just one room of many, and they're actually available for community use, free rentals. We do like to only lend it out to organizations that are there, whose mission and vision are closely related to our mission and vision. But we've got some really cool technology here, and Suny is a team of 30. And so to possibly always be using this as impossible, we will happily lend it out at different times to groups such as this. So if you have a need, please contact us and we'd be happy to lend it out to you. Yeah. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Oh, yeah, I'll feel it. A few people are dropping off, but Anton said there's 230 people on Facebook right now. Awesome. Thanks everybody coming down in person. It's super appreciated. I know right now, over the last months and years, this is picking up snacks and like, can I get a communal fruit tray? That loud? So thanks for being in person. Thanks for coming online and watching. 18 AGMs now. Since I said to Kathy Frio, hey, we should get some kids to the office one night, play some games. And it's crazy to think of what's happening, where we've come. And today is a really special day. It's the AGM. The former Aafs member, Aidan Keckney, came. He young guy who had you can always see he was brilliant, smart, had a lot going for him. Always had problems. His family wasn't wonderful. He moved to Toronto when he was 14 or 15. He'd asked all his Aafs friends if he'd move in with them, so he didn't have to go to Toronto. Went to Toronto, he grew up huge. He got awards for advocacy in the LGBTQ community. He did so many amazing things, but he's still a young guy that struggles with something. But he came back to Calgary today for a week, and he reached out and said, "Do you want to go for lunch?" So we got some of the Aafs old crew together for lunch, and it's we're sitting in Kaylee's downtown, and it was everything. It was so much in 1 hour and a half lunch. There's 7 or 8 of us there. We had a couple guys laughing louder, too loud for the restaurant. You could see people kind of, what's going on over there? Hearing about one of our guys' success. He's been peer leader for about 4.5 years. I think he went up there for NWA. A couple other guys are having trouble with jobs. Another guy got his first job at Aafs, now is progressing up in the daycare industry. These young guys that came through Aafs, and I think about that next generation of folks. And back early in board meetings, people would say, and I never really thought back then that I felt a lot of pressure, but there's always this pressure of, well, how are we going to clone Dean to be able to make this bigger? And I think back then, and I was in my late 20s and almost 30, and asked my mom if I could start a nonprofit and quit school, and she said, "Do Kathy and Nancy think it's a good job?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Okay, well, as long as they're good, they got you. You're good to go ahead and do it." It's my mom's birthday last week. She passed 10 years ago now. But she was one of my real inspirations about, she almost started the resource room model in classrooms. The teacher, she was the one that she heard a teacher in the staff room talking bad about a kid or anything. Send it to my room. Oh, I don't care. She had 4 boys that caused her problems. But same with the group. I think about those days where it's me and then bringing 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And I had to do it because I had to survive. Before Aafs, my survival was 4 kids for respite between 10 and 4 more kids between 4:30 and 8:30, an overnight shift at Margaret House. I had to go to schools in the morning to do some consultant help. I had to do it because that was my life, that was my income, that's the only way I'd survive. I look now, and I didn't have a choice back then not to bring Monty to my softball game because his mom didn't show up. Our staff now do all this, and it puts me in awe of the people that are around us because they don't have to do it. This is their part-time job, a lot of them, but they wait an hour and a half for access to show up. They stay an hour and a half late with a kid who's having a hard day. and so through some of it, the bonusly, this internal system we have now, it allows me to see all of this happening of staff now thanking each other. Hey, thank you for your help yesterday. Helping through a hard shift. What a fun time. I used to talk with some of the Aafs staff about, we have this weird side of us, not weird side, the side of us that in this work, and you're successful in this work, when those hard times are the times that energize you. I don't remember a lot of the really, really, really good days at Aafs over the years, where they're really, I remember the camping trip where, you know, one of the kids had night terrors all night. There's so much happened in that trip. Some of the funny stuff came out of that, but in the folks that work for us and the folks that come to the board, you don't have to do it. So for me to watch the staff that we have and the members we have, what they do, and how they bleed this, and how I saw a story today on our internal bonus league, where staff got thanked for the youth showed up, very nervous to be in the room. Mom wasn't sure about dropping him off. Ended the activity, had the time of his life, incredibly happy. And those are the moments that selfishly and egotistically that I thought might not be there, and I was told by some early parents that's you, that's not. So to be able to see these people create that environment and still have those, because that outcome to me is that's the big one. The kid who didn't want to come in now wants to come. That's the crux of it all for us. But then to be working with programs like Ready, Willing, Able, and foundations like Suny and new partners like Aid Canada. When at the start we were just a few people that thought, hey, let's get some kids together without therapy, without pressure, and to me it speaks to how important life is for all of us, and it's not necessarily some of the things we think are important. And that for Aiden today to talk about when he was in Toronto having difficult times, he still had Liam McGinnis on Facebook Friends and me, and he held on to the people he'd met at Aafs in his life. And I was happened to be one of those, but the other members, some of them, and other members that helped him through times while he was in Toronto. So I'm emotional as I get older, but I want to thank everybody for being a part of this as we look to do more and get every member we have full. I talked with an Aafs family last week about our goal for our adult day programs, that we pay people to come to our day program. They should come to work, or coming here and then going to work. We don't want to just support people. We want to continue to push the boundaries and push what people think people with autism can do. And so I just want to, everything right now for me is just thanking everybody that's been here and will be here. Because what we do is incredible, and it's hard for me to believe that it's incredible. And I always feel for the people, Aaron, Nancy, Richard are three strong ones that have to put up with some of my administration and gaps of administration and some of those things in my brain in my life. But luckily, I found people to take care of those things, and I recognize the work people do for that. So I want to thank everybody for being here and just being here with us. So thank you guys so much. I think that officially ends everything. So we're gonna turn the cameras off unless the 5 people online are. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out tonight and share a drink and food, and we'll be here for food with the boys. Awesome. Thank you. Bye, Nola.
Bye.
I know.
She was the
Thank
only
you,
one
Noah.
left.
I know.
Hi.